all of the family ended up being upstairs out on the patio, and I had one of the cousins out off behind a hill with a whole mess of fireworks ready to go off. And I had some other fireworks where the kids were kind of making magic out of these fireworks. And it led up into this escalation of this final magic trick that I've been placing throughout the whole show. Finally to the end where Rae got the box returned that was all sealed and everything else, and she opened up this box and then got down to another box and showed that this is where this $20 bill was that was signed by so-and-so, this, that, the other. Well, unwrapped was the ring. And so I got down on one knee and said, would you marry me? And that was in front of all the family, because obviously we prioritize family very much so in including them in on the proposal. And then the fireworks go off.
Love stories fill us with joy and inspire hope for the future. And a true life romance can remind us that sometimes just one spark is all it takes to change everything. Welcome to Unexpected Love Stories. I'm your host, Dawn Prushkovsky. Have you ever connected so deeply with someone that you use the words soulmate? Well, I have to say that today's couple is more than that. They are aligned by design. Dr. Dusty and Rae Hess are the husband and wife team behind Upstream Health, where they're on a mission to help people reclaim their vibrant health through God's original design. Dr. Dusty is a board-certified chiropractor and a functional medicine practitioner, and Rae is a functional nutritional therapy practitioner. And today, they're here to share their amazing, unexpected love story behind this mission. Let's welcome them. Come on in. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to have you guys here. Let's go
thanks
back.
for having us, Dawn.
Oh, well, thank you. Let's go back to before you guys met. And I know you guys were on this health journey. What was it that you guys were doing before you met? And were you looking for love while you were doing it?
That's the question, right?
It is. So Dusty and I didn't meet till I was 31. And I always say that God writes the best love stories. Like I couldn't ever write how or who or where or what. God knew where I would be, but that's it, time and time again. It always amazes me that God does write the best love stories.
Get to the story of how you met.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Dusty, you are working as a chiropractor at this time?
Yeah, so working as a functional doctor, and was networking with some different doctors across the nation, and we do a lot online, and really just trying to serve people in the online space. And so we were going to a lot of conventions and different health conferences, and we were meeting up, and ended up at a health conference. I think it was in Utah. Yeah, it was in Utah, and so through this process, there was actually you got to start talking about this story first, because you had a totally different experience. I went not expecting to meet anybody. I was still on my own journey and developing certain aspects of independence to be able to develop self. But when I stepped foot into Utah, it was like I came off the plane. I got set up at where I needed to get set up. I literally went straight to a golf course and played a round of 18. And I had my weekend set from like a business perspective of what I needed to do. And everything was in alignment with, because I had no anticipation of, or inclination or yearning to meet somebody that weekend. And so through that process, yeah.
I'm going to say, how long were you single at this point?
Oh, I was single for, it was about a year and a half. So I was still kind of a little bit fresh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
take it
So
from here because it's when I'm trying to build a perspective, and then you get
Yes.
Rae's perspective,
Yeah.
and then you'll see how it starts to get pretty hilarious rather quickly.
Yeah. So I had just gotten off a camping trip in Rocky Mountain National Park with one of my best girlfriends, and so we had come to Utah where this convention was, where I was working with the doctor that was his colleague, and we were going to this health conference, and we were all sharing an Airbnb. And so my sister and I were arriving like a day early, and we get there and we hear like, oh my goodness, there's like this hot springs that is amazing. It's like about 1.5 mile hike in, and the doctor Joe, our mutual friend that I was working with, he had gotten into town early too, and so I was like, Joe, you should meet Faith and I here, and we'll all hike in, and it has great reviews. And Joe, he's so funny, but he was like, he actually didn't want to go, but he used Dusty as the excuse. And so he was like, oh, I have the doctor here and we're doing some business meetings. Sorry, can't come. So he made it sound as if he was really disappointed that Dusty was a party pooper and didn't want to join. So my first impression was, wow, who is this guy who's just not a team player and it's going to be kind of Debbie Downer all weekend? I mean, we're here for a conference, but we're also here to build the team and
Yeah.
so I was kind of annoyed at this Dusty guy, and so we come in. Yeah, it was the hot springs, by the way, is amazing. So if you need a referral, I will get that to you. But we get there and I meet Dusty, not all of that. And but I think the thing that caught my attention was, again, we were all staying in the same Airbnb, and so we made a grocery run just to do some like groceries through the weekend. Joe's wife Angie was like, Rae, can you go do that? And I have a list because she was arriving late. And of course, Joe, since we now know he's the party pooper, he was like, he's like, Rae, how about I have things to do. How about you just go with everybody and go get the groceries? And I'm like, okay. And Dusty was like, well, actually, I'll come too. And I was thinking, oh, well, that's kind of nice.
Party pooper.
He's not a party pooper. He actually is joining the group.
I want to go to the grocery store. That's such a party animal,
Yeah. So as we're going through the list and everything like that, one of our sayings is like, he had me at his first cart, because I'm a functional nutritionist, and it matters. Like, food matters, and you have all these things when you're single, and you think, well, I guess food was going to kind of be at the bottom, like that will just integrate once we get married or whatever. But you just kind of notice what people put in their carts. And so as we were shopping, he kind of had his own little basket as I had the team's basket. And I just kept noticing, oh, wow, I would have put that in my cart. Oh, yeah, I like that. And it was just, it just caught my attention because, you just notice those things. And then post grocery store, post grocery run.
Well, actually, there's a piece in this that I don't know if I've ever told you. But when we went to the checkout, I had my ghee for my
bulletproof coffee
and my grass-fed beef and whatnot.
Your grass-fed steak.
Yeah, and so she, that caught her eye. And then we go to the checkout, and she goes through and buys everything, and she has a decent amount of groceries, and she doesn't get any bags. Like, she's like, I don't need any more plastic in this world. Like, and she just like carries all these things, like things are like falling out. And I'm like, the sacrifice the sacrifice that she's going through for her, beliefs is pretty admirable. And to this day too, when I go through the checkout, I'm like, no, we don't need a bag. And it actually stuck with me to this day, it was super cute.
No, yeah, that's
Aw.
fun. Yeah, so we basically we had the dynamic of my sister. So I grew up in a family of 5 girls, and we're all really close. We're all best friends, if you will. And so just having that third buffer all weekend, it felt like Dusty and I had the opportunity to get to know each other in a group setting, in a social setting, in a business setting, but then also the dynamic. I was super comfortable with my sister. She's just a warm person, and it didn't make Dusty and I feel like we were just zoning in on each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yes.
we had that fun opportunity where it felt as if we had this little crowd of friends, and then we never stopped talking. Like, we literally, after the weekend, we just never stopped talking. We had a phone fast one time. It lasted. So we're long distance. We were long distance.
I don't think anybody knows what a phone fast is. You're gonna have to tell what everybody.
I will.
What phone fast
I will. So we were long distance. So Dusty went back to California. I went back to Iowa after that convention. And so he was working at his clinic. He was fully established in Southern California. I was in Iowa, fully established, working at the clinic with the mutual friend doctor that we were with. And our lives were very set in a way. And so, but we kept talking. And one thing, like, I love directness. I love when people are direct, because then I can know exactly where people have their line and like what's expected. Expectations. And so Dusty, he would say that he was being direct, but he put out like a little fish, like a little reel. And it's kind of like asking a question roundabout to see if I was at all interested. But what girl in their right mind is going to say, like, if somebody's just casually saying, like, are you at all interested in me? Like, what girl is going to be so vulnerable with her heart and say, yes, I am so interested in you. I think that's what you're asking. So the way I asked it was I answered it was guarded, because I wasn't going to just.
Oh, did he actually say that?
Well, kind of. But also something that, Dawn, that you need to know is I am a very extroverted person, but when I'm attracted to someone, I get shy, right?
Oh, yeah.
So after like our first great weekend together and we started talking, and then I'm like, holy cow, I'm starting to like this guy. Would you say I got shy?
You were a totally different person. Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for Faithy kind of having that bridge the gap where it's like she's ice breaking, because at first, like, when we first met each other, it wasn't like we were head over heels, love at first sight. It was love at first cart. That was the initial interaction. Is like seeing our values and seeing how that aligns, and then kind of everything grew from there. And then we grew more comfortable in being able to communicate with each other and being able to talk over the phone. And I think that disconnection, being far away from each other with the long distance, really gave room for great conversation and to dive deeper and not get distracted by physicality or get distracted by having to go to a restaurant or a movie or something that like breaks the ice that way. But it was this intentionality that was built in over the phone of just listening and getting to know each other and diving in. And yes, like breaking through some of these natural barriers of being shy because you like somebody, or like not being able to come out and say, hey, do you like me?
Totally.
Like it did force us into some uncomfortable situations.
Send a little note. Do you like me? Check yes, check no. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That would have probably been a lot more effective, Don. I appreciate it. I wish you would have been there. And I think it all worked out in such a beautiful way as time kind of went through, because it's just great to see how, even with my previous marriage and having a daughter with that previous marriage, the dynamics that brings in. So when in the beginning, my daughter I didn't want to introduce her to anyone that I was dating, like in a sense that to wrap her up in that. So there was no names. So Rae, her name became Princess. And so it was like, princess, and then Rae's sister was Queen, when I was the king. And so like names weren't necessarily associated. So even to this day, my daughter calls Rae Princess Rae. And so it's like this, this theme of, diving deep into relationship with intentionality. And I think that really helped long distance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay,
No,
I need a time frame here to give me a reference on when this is all happening.
yeah. So
What
we met in September, and then to give you a time
what
frame,
year?
2017, and
Yeah.
then we got married in 2019 in
Yeah.
September.
Mhm.
So to give you the timeline, we
yay,
did
just before COVID. Okay.
yes. Yeah. So our timeline, we met, and then we were long distance for a year and a half, and that was something that it was the most beautiful thing for our relationship, for our growth, for who we are as individuals. We always also, there were a lot of factors. So obviously Dusty, with Adeline, his first daughter, and then navigating just doing a long distance relationship again,
Mhm.
So since his first marriage, she is Norwegian. And so having that aspect of just always having not my parents are right next door, your parents are right next door. There's always going to be that yearning or pull, and you feel like family's going to be pulling on you. So just that dynamic walking through again. And I think I totally believe that you can meet someone and you can get married next week. That's possible. I think when you have a dynamic such as ours, and you need to have the wisdom of there's no rush.
Did you just mostly do phone calls? Did you have like times that you met up with each other? What did you do to navigate long distance?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, it was very much phone calls. It was very much video chat, like FaceTime, Messenger, things like that. And in doing that with family overseas, and a lot of relationships in our lives are long distance, even to this day, with family being 6,000 miles away. So we've navigated that very well. And then there came a time where it was like, hey, this is escalating to a certain degree, and there has to be a little bit more commitment to developing the relationship to the next step. And then Rae started to fly out for a bit, and then she'd fly out, and then she'd stay for a bit, and then she'd fly back to Iowa for a bit, and then fly back to California and so forth. What was the length of time that it was pretty consistent?
It was consistent. Yeah. I would try to come out 1 week per month and then be back in Iowa for 3 weeks. So it was a commitment. You have to sacrifice if you're doing long distance.
Yeah.
Because I think like you can look at it as when you're single, you can look at it, I'm growing my thing, you're growing your thing. But it's when you come together and when you see that life isn't autonomous and you really want to do life with someone, there's going to be that sacrifice and there's going to be that commitment and investment that happens.
Okay, I love you. He was dangling the hook.
Yeah.
When did you guys like finally go like, yes, I love you. We're going to proceed forward with this.
I mean, I loved him right away. I feel like there was some type of connection.
When could you say it though? I mean,
Well, that's the thing. I did say it right away, but just as friends, like there was I genuinely loved who Dusty was. When I first met him that weekend, I'm like, I do love you. Like there's a genuine love there. But I would say when it was not that way. I would say, so when I said it, not platonically, I guess, because that's why we had a phone fast, is because he thought my feelings were platonic. And so I was like,
And I wasn't messing around.
yeah,
I was
no,
like, okay, like if this is platonic, then I'm, I don't have energy to,
yeah,
I'm moving on. So there was
yeah,
phone fast.
yeah.
Well, that Ray gave it the title of phone fast.
Yeah. It was like where we didn't talk for a month and we didn't know if we were ever going to talk again, really, But I would say
It
after
was just
that,
kind of
so
like a little test on it, huh?
yeah. So it was, I
Yeah.
mean, we both met. We met in September. The phone fast was for basically 6 weeks in November to like the beginning of the new year. And then I would say after that, I would say it wasn't in person that we said I love you. It was over the phone. And so it was
Mhm.
after that.
So who broke the phone fast?
I did.
I think the dynamic of, I guess oh goodness, love at first card, phone fast. There's so many things here. I think that there was a bit of mending of a heart.
Mhm.
Like I think there was a bit of, commitment and knowing that, hey, like step up to the plate. And Rae really did that. I gave her an opportunity to do that too. And then her traveling out to like being pursued a little bit. I think that I was coming off of a relationship that was pretty broken and scared to be able to open myself up in a way that, takes energy and too quickly, spending your whole life trying to find somebody, and you don't expect them to kind of pop into your life so quickly. And there was this aha moment in the relationship where I looked at Rae totally different. It was like all of a sudden, wow, there's a woman that
Wow.
beyond the beauty, beyond the fun, beyond the great conversations, there's a woman that's rooted in Christ. And that says a lot about your foundational morals and your identity of what you say yes and no to in this world. And then there's also an identity within expectations for family. And so now we have faith and we have family, and each one of those have quite a few different boxes to tick off. And then all of a sudden, and like how rarely does that happen, right? When you actually find
Find
those
that
two things
person.
aligned.
Yeah.
And then you get to a point where health is aligned. And these are the top three things for us: is faith, family, and health. And that she aligns in this holistic perspective of responsibility of that. It just all of a sudden just clicked.
Yeah. It's
That
like you guys just fit together.
yeah,
Perfect.
that was the ultimate
Aligned
love.
by design, like I said.
Aligned by design. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Hey, you know what? I need your help. Would you please follow our podcast and give it a 5-star rating or write a review? You see, there's just not that many love story podcasts out there, so we're kind of building a new genre. And that's where you come in. Your interaction with us really helps drive the algorithm that shows our podcast to other people. Besides that, I just like hearing from you. So write us a note in the comment section of this episode, because your participation helps us reach more listeners, and it keeps the love stories coming. Thank you. Okay, so now we're leading up to a proposal, I'm thinking.
Yeah. So yeah, the proposal.
I'm hoping
pretty-
there's a
pretty dynamic.
proposal.
Oh,
There's a
one
proposal.
thing that you need to know about Dusty is that he leaves no stone unturned, and he is the most thoughtful and the most he was in production too before he got into medicine, and so it was he's all about the show and performing and all of that, and I love all that stuff, so I did move out to California before even we were engaged. And that was something that a lot of my friends and my family were like, Rae, you're moving out to, like, why are you moving there without, they loved Dusty. Everybody loved Dusty. But it was like, but you're not engaged yet, And so,
And
but
that
I was like,
makes
no, this is part of Dusty's, this is part of his healing. I want him to know that he matters enough that I don't need to have like that we're engaged. So now I can, move out and we're going to get married and all of that. So it was just, I think, helpful that it led up to the process of like, no, now Rae is adjusting her whole life. And obviously God's design is that you adjust your life.
And what is that prioritization,
Right.
of faith, family, and health? Like, what is that prioritization? What is the rest of life, the side of eternity, look like? It's dropping everything behind for a chance at love, is flying across the United States. And she didn't move in with me. Like, in the beginning, she was couch surfing at random people's homes until my father found out about this. And then she's like, Rae, you are no longer doing this. You are staying at our house. And when she moved out, she literally, it's almost like a traditional throwback, but she literally stayed with my parents in their home for several months. And through that experience, it was like a courtship in a way that my parents were now getting to know this woman that I was courting, and they were also vetting her in a way that was very nourishing and nurturing. But it was a dynamic situation in leading up to the proposal that allowed for that commitment to grow, and that the safety of being able to see the dedication and the love in movement go from long distance to more close, and then the prioritization of family, so much so that she moves in with my parents. And it was a beautiful thing. And I think that also escalated things rather quickly.
So I wasn't expecting to get proposed to. I mean, I was definitely expecting that we would get married and I would get proposed to, but I wasn't expecting till like Christmas time. So I think I moved out in February or March, and I was like, oh, it will, we haven't rushed anything. I think it will probably be Christmas time. We'll probably go. He knows I love surprises, and he also knows that I love family. And so it'll either be around his family or my family, and we're not really in a rush. And so yeah, I went, I think I had a class to teach or something in Iowa. So I was back for a very short time, and all of a sudden my sisters, which if you grow up with sisters, everybody, Pride and Prejudice, Little Women, it's not rare to talk about weddings or things like that. So my sisters just like threw Pinterest in front of me and were like,
Rae's
show
family
us.
is full of estrogen and like female dominance. Our house is full of testosterone and male dominance. So it was a clash of the titans.
So my sisters, I was just there for like a day or two, and they threw Pinterest in front of me and were like, show us what rings you like. And I'm like, well, these are my sisters. So I'm not even thinking that Dusty was asking, So I just went through, and I'm like very quick at decisions, and I very much know what I like. And so I just went, I've never done this before, but I'm like, oh, this. I made a board and I was done with it. It was like out of my mind. So then there you go.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, and through this, it's like escalating into the
But this
proposal.
was like,
I promise you, Don, this will end up at a proposal. Yeah. So basically, I was gathering information, right? I was getting,
You had the sisters on your side.
Yeah.
They're doing undercover work for you. Okay.
Absolutely. I had my minions done. And so I was sending them out.
And they reported back to you.
Yeah. They did. Yeah. It was great. It was awesome. It was the healthy version of the modern Snow White, like I had my dwarves that were actually dwarves growing up, the unwoke dwarves. And so yeah, I was blessed. There were so many different people that were willing to step up and like help and participate. It was so much fun. And so I managed to get her ring size, like a board of all the different styles of rings that she liked. And I have a very much creative side that Rae talks about. And so Rae's sister, one of her sisters, is an artist. And so I kind of got this Pinterest board, and I kind of put some different things together, and I was like, hey, I'd love for you to help design this ring. And we have a family friend that's a jeweler in LA that can custom build it. And so Rae's sister literally drew out this ring and from multiple different angles and had this custom drawing of this. And then I brought it to the jeweler and had it made. And then Rae came back from Iowa back to California. And then I was working hard to get this ring finished and like all designed. And then
because you wanted to propose at family retreat.
Yes,
there was a timeline of when he wanted.
Of like there over the summertime, every summer, the Swansons, Rae's side of the family, all the family members get together on the farm, and they have what's called this Swanson family retreat, and it's so cute. It's literally like you can imagine all the family members coming together under one roof, and it's just a big a weekend where there's activities, there's prayer, there's the ability to be able to connect with people that you don't see on a regular basis, to be able to just see where they're at and like what's going on for their year, and to be able to just reconnect as a family, no matter where people are at or what's going on. And we're playing games together. And then there's a big talent show that happens at this Swanson family retreat. And this talent show had a trophy and everything. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a great idea. I could actually make the proposal a part of my talent. And so everybody shows up with their talent. And I'm like, I'm going to show up with a talent that's going to end in a proposal. And so what I did was I got the ring. We all flew out. And I've been networking with all of my dwarves, my minions, so I've got, multiple people with multiple different things going on. And then the talent show rolls around, and I'm a magician, and I have, a magician cap, all this full gown on. And I have multiple people in the audience that are working with my magician act to make things disappear, reappear. I'm integrating the kids in all of this. And like so many people in the audience are part of what's going on. And Rae is just there, kind of like being swayed. And so it led from one thing to the next, And then all of a sudden we went from one room to another room, and then upstairs outside. And I was going to make something reappear. And through that time of making dollar bills end up on people's, bottom of their feet, and like you can imagine all the different things that I had going on, all of the family ended up being upstairs out on the patio. And I had one of the cousins out off behind a hill with a whole mess of fireworks ready to go off. And I had some other fireworks where the kids were kind of making magic out of these fireworks. And it led up into this escalation of this final magic trick that I've been placing throughout the whole show. Finally, to the end, where Rae got the box returned that was all sealed and everything else, and she opened up this box and then got down to another box and showed that this is where this $20 bill was that was signed by so-and-so, this, that, or the other. Well, unwrapped was the ring. And so I got down on one knee and said, would you marry me? And that was in front of all the family, because obviously we prioritize family very much so in including them in on the proposal. And then the fireworks go off in the background, and she said no. Yes. She said no. Yeah, she absolutely said yes. Yeah, she absolutely said yes. And this David Copperfield was engaged.
Wow. Okay, wait. Did you do all that? Did you do magic before you guys met? I mean, is that you had
Not at all.
You had to research how to do all of these magic tricks?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And get people that are there like involved, and like try to train them how to work with me, all behind the scenes without Rae knowing.
Mm-hmm. So he got the yes from the proposal, and he got to take home the retreat trophy.
Yeah, and I won.
Won the trophy. That's a show.
So now we have this trophy, and on the
That's
trophy,
talent.
your name gets engraved on the trophy when you win it. So we have that year in which, at that proposal, name on the trophy from when we got engaged, and it's pretty special.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the summer of 2019, or is that 2018?
2019.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then we didn't have very long before the wedding then, huh?
No, I told him before we ever got engaged. I'm like, I don't care how long we date. Just know that when you engage, when you propose, I want a short engagement. So I don't care how long we take, whatever. And so we both knew that. And so we had a 2-month engagement.
So did you get married in Iowa or California? Southern California. Which one?
We got married in Iowa, and we
Okay.
actually got married in the same church that my parents got married at. And
Oh,
it's just this darling little chapel church, just like 5 miles away from the farm. So it was very,
quaint.
very special.
It was very,
yeah. And we had the reception on the farm, and then we had a California reception out here.
And where did you honeymoon?
We took a cruise to the Caribbean, actually, which was really awesome. And
it was amazing.
It was great. It was perfect for what we needed in the moment, which was great. We actually there was very little weather, and it was at a time that could have been hurricane season. We got to the airport in Des Moines, and for some reason the first plane had some issues, and we ended up missing our first flight, and then trying to catch up, we actually missed the boat, and we
out of
had
Puerto Rico,
out of Puerto Rico, and we had to fly to one of the islands to meet up with the boat. So we ended up, our first night was in a really trashy
Tampa,
hotel
Florida.
in Tampa. It was very unclean, very. And so
It's
that
your
was our
dream, right?
Yeah, it was.
Your honeymoon.
It was, but it was a memorable moment.
It
for
was.
the awkwardness. It was so funny.
Yeah.
We had a great time.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Any other things from your wedding that was very memorable?
I'm very sentimental. I'm very what's the word? I love symbolism and things like that. So our wedding like dripped of all of that.
It's very unorthodox.
Very unorthodox.
Like the people that came to our wedding never experienced anything like that. We basically had like a talent show at our wedding where like we gave room for other couples that knew us really well to participate in our reception, where they like made skits, and they like tried to give us advice, and like they worked through different ways of bringing their wisdom in different forms. And so we had people literally sitting downstairs, and we were doing performances, and we were it was very unique, but at the same time it was so memorable, because there was just a lot of people that really loved us and intentionally wanted to impart their wisdom on us, from their marriages and from their experiences, by helping us navigate potential future challenges or different obstacles that we might run into, and the way that they communicated it through symbolism, or through a caterpillar, or through going over or under or around something. It was a very unique reception.
Yeah. We also like we have dubbed the flamingo as the Hess family bird. So we had like hidden flamingos throughout our wedding, and throughout, just different things like that. And we had a marriage meter at the beginning when all of our guests came into the ceremony. We had a tracker of how accumulatively how many years were represented of marriage there. We had all of our kids and cousins, and we have like about 20 of them. Instead of having just one flower girl and one ring bearer, we had all the kids walk down the aisle, and
that
then
was awesome.
Like they sang our favorite verses, so
we gave room for everybody to be able to participate. And I think that was what was very different, is it was very much a celebration, and allowing everybody to participate instead of it being this all eyes on us and our moment. it
Which
was
we didn't
Glee.
mind that. As
Yeah,
you
we
can
didn't mind
tell,
that.
we love
Yeah.
when eyes are on us and our moments.
But definitely
I
more
love that.
exclusive.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I want to just invite our friends to get eyes on you on our website, unexpectedlovestories.com. We have a lot of amazing wedding photos of the Hess family wedding, and more pictures of Dr. Dusty and Rae. And you can find the link to that in our episode guide. It's just down here in the show notes. Again, this is an amazing couple, and you can find out more about what they do with Upstream Health. And you can find out how to connect with them on our website. I want you, while you're there, to check out the stories of other couples, because honestly, there's no two stories alike, as you probably found out. So, and how has things gone with the blended family? Because I know you're talking
Good.
about the blend with being a blended
Mhm.
family. Does your daughter spend? Is Adelaide? You said
Adeline, yeah.
Adeline. Does she spend quality time with you guys?
Yep, she's out every summer. We go out and visit her, and the odd times she goes to school out there. So, you know, there was definitely from early on is sacrificing and ensuring that her quality of life is good. That it didn't wrap around other people's necessarily selfish wants and needs, but it was what is going to allow for her to have a normal upbringing amidst this challenge. And so she goes to school in Norway, but she's out here for the summers. She's out here for every other Christmas, and we have the opportunity to go visit her. We have a great relationship with her mom and her stepdad, or her mom's boyfriend, and and we have good communication. And I think that that's so important, especially when you're 6,000 miles away, is just having great relationships, and being on the same front, and communicating very thoroughly and effectively, having good expectations, having each other's back, and when there's challenges on either side, that you can be able to rise to the occasion to be able to help foster the outcome of somebody that you brought into the world. And so, yes, we that blended relationship, this kind of situation that we're in, is a lot more dynamic than if you have a family that's, you know, in another county or city over, and you have custody where you're picking the kid up from school and then you're bringing them to dance, and then they have the responsibility every other weekend or every weekend. And ours is 6,000 miles away. It's when she comes, she has more frequent flyer miles than the vast majority of businessmen out there, you know.
Uh-huh.
But you know, it's we've made it in a way, and we've communicated it in a way, and we've led it in a way that it feels like it's just normal. And so, yeah,
And now
we're very blessed.
she has siblings too.
Mhm.
Yeah, several
Mhm.
siblings. Yeah,
Yeah.
several siblings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's got to be so
It's
exciting
special.
for her. Yes.
it is.
Yeah.
She loves it, and
Yes.
she's such a great older sister. She's so amazing.
Yes. That's
Mhm.
wonderful. That's wonderful. So what's anything on the horizon for you guys?
Oh, I mean, we always have things on the horizon.
Oh,
So
always.
babies obviously on the horizon. So as far as family activities and all of that, it'll be baby centric that way.
Mhm.
But I mean, we definitely live a life where we're always building, we're always you know, creating things, and so there's always things on the future.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
currently, I
and
mean,
and
yeah, go
people
ahead.
can reach out and find out more about Upstream Health
Yeah, absolutely.
too
Yeah,
as
I mean,
well.
we travel around the country. We talk about faith, family, and health. We talk about the future of healthcare, being scientifically driven, not scientifically driven, but culturally driven. And so you can find more information about our company and what we do for Christian families when it comes to avoiding chronic disease and empowering them with enough specialized testing and information from a functional medicine perspective, and a membership that allows them to ensure that their families stay healthy from the inside out and that they can avoid the future of chronic disease. You can find us at upstreamhealth.com, and a lot of that information is there. We have a monthly magazine that goes to our members' doorstep that focuses on faith, family, and health, and integrates a lot of just great practical tips for Christian families to just stay healthy from the inside out and lead the next generation to a brighter future.
I think that's so important. I'm so glad that you guys are doing that. Thank you for having that passion and doing that. Well, I want to say thank you so much for sharing your incredible love story. And definitely, we're going to make sure that people can connect with you through our website if they get to the end of the show and they're like, wait, where is that again?
Yeah.
How do I get in touch with them? Which is me. I'm that person. Yes, we'll have all the information on our website. Again, go to our show notes down below and you'll be able to click it. It'll get you right to this episode where you can see not only their photos, but find out more about what they do, and you'll be able to reach out and connect with them. So I'm so grateful that you were here. Your love
Thanks
story.
for having us, Dawn.
I'm telling you, it was such an honor. I'm just so glad that when I met y'all that you were like, yes, we have a story. You got a great one. I was like, good.
Oh yeah, it's so fun.
It was
it's
wonderful.
So fun. No, thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you. It's an honor to share it.
It really is. It really is.
Well, again, your love story reminds us that sometimes the most unexpected meetings lead to the most intentional lives. And it was just something that began with love at first cart.
Love at first cart.
And then God wrote the best love story. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Friends, again, if you enjoyed this story, I ask you to follow the podcast so that you don't miss a single story. And please leave a 5-star review and a comment. Because when you do this, algorithms for podcasts actually puts our podcast in front of more people. Of course, I think the best thing that you could possibly do is share our podcast with someone who loves a good love story. And there's not that many people who don't love a good love story. Remember that you can find out more about the Hesses on our website, unexpectedlovestory.com. The link is in the show notes. And I hope that your heart feels lighter and full of hope after hearing this story. You know, sometimes the best love stories are the ones that we never saw coming. So keep your heart open for it because love is waiting. So we'll see you next time.